Welcome to our show. Mike said I could start whenever I care to, and Mike, I care to. Hello.
Okay. Yes. This was Wham Bang Wednesday.
Oh, brother.
And,
I,
yeah.
I didn't even go to the every 2 weeks they have a meeting of the city council. I didn't go. This meeting this morning, this weekly business session, 2.5 hours.
Yes. Yeah. It was a doozy. And the interesting thing, um, any discussion that they had thought of taking on the use of road dollars for the sheriff. They didn't make any mention of that, but you would have sworn that the first part of this meeting was totally about that, because there was a litany of people lining up to say, yes, do that.
And you've heard Mike say this before about other weekly business sessions. This is what, the third or fourth weekly business session in a row where the citizens, hello, fellow bosses, we're the ones that decide, well, this is our weekly business. They keep saying this is our weekly business session. Not anymore, it's not. And it doesn't mean we're going crazy, gnawing on the furniture. We know you are the boss and you know what you were concerned about.
Yes, and the people who cared to showed up. And you know what? The people who didn't care to shut up, I don't care what you think, because you didn't bother to show up. So the heck with you. But it is clear that the people on the other side of the dais were wired inverse to the most of the audience.
They really were. What did they think that they could get through? This was the meeting where they voted on the budget, okay? And I guess they thought, well, we'll just skip over that part where a couple of people are asking about the funding for the sheriff. Well, I'll just skip that. That didn't work out so well for them, Mike.
Yeah, you know what? There is some reason that you would only discover by being behind their eyeballs or concerned about their legacies. There's some reason that we will not understand about why they did this, why they do not want to move that money. It's amazing to me. You seemed rather convinced when you were standing up there talking that they were going to do it. I am not convinced at all that as a matter of fact, if things stay as they are now, these people are not going to do this. That's
Cheryl's made it very clear. She doesn't care what anybody says. She's not going to vote for this.
Yeah.
Well, I still think that they will. I think they'll have to bow to public pressure because it's like the city council. The city council tonight, Grants Pass City Council. Sorry, Cave Junction. The Grants Pass City Council. Well, we really think this logo is wonderful. You know what? No, that's not going to work, you guys. Why do they think it's wonderful? First of all, it's not wonderful by any objective standards. Second, who the heck are they talking to that thinks it's wonderful? Let's see those people. And I don't mean Rika Brown once again. I mean, she's on the wrong side of every dang issue. I mean, she's just taking pride in being on the wrong side.
Is Rika on record for liking this new logo?
That I don't know, but she's on record for every other wrong thing that you can think of.
I was going to
count me in.
Yes. Now there's a dated reference. Wow. Very interesting for the mayor to be so on board with this new logo. He would have had to have something to do with paying this person to come up with this in order to try to sell it that hard, because it's just really bad. And really, most people agree with that. There are a few people that go, oh, yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, but when they talk in that kind of voice, you already know there's something
right.
wrong.
Yes, of course. It takes their credibility away instantly.
It does.
So statistically, all people hate the new logo.
Well, except for the people that speak like Goofy.
Right.
Yes, all people don't like this. And what a waste of money. Look at what Tony Webb did. This was valuable. She does valuable things. $1.50. Just as good, if not better. And then there's that Grants Pass weather outfit that has a logo that looks like this was ripped off from them.
Yeah. Yeah,
It looks
and
almost identical.
And I hope they didn't pay a lot for theirs either, because it's pretty bad. It has. I think that the bridge that's on the logo for grandspassweather.com, go look at this, people. Grandspassweather.com. I think the bridge on there is the exact same bridge that is on the new logo. I wonder if they paid 40 grand for that one.
Yes. Wouldn't that be lovely?
Yeah, that little portion of the logo.
Now, this was a very interesting weekly business session because so many people came. Now, Mike was a little disappointed, honestly, last time when so few people showed up. This time, we didn't see any leaders from the pro-Levy side. Where are these people? And all of the anti-Levy people were there pushing for funding for the sheriff. What in the world is going on here? Well, you don't like the sheriff. No, we told you from the beginning. You're totally wrong on that. We've been proven out in everything. This isn't really about funding for the sheriff, is it? You can be, well, of course it is. It's an emergency. And now they're acting like, oh, yeah, we'll get around to it sometime later.
You know what? This is interesting. I think, sometimes the little pieces of this come together in my head as I'm listening to someone else describing it. And I think I kind of get Cheryl's. There's no way that they could possibly throw a lifeline to this idea and still hold the idea that no way, no how. There's no way I'm going to do this because of her advocacy for new taxation. And we all heard her up there today going, well, the reason why you don't have decent law enforcement is because you don't like to pay taxes. And I think a lot of people were just floored at how
arrogant
she is. Just unbelievable. She is just unbelievable.
I need to make a video out of this. See, I make the videos. Okay. So I need to make a video out of this called something like Cheryl Walker mentions the word taxes 30 times in 3 minutes. It was unbelievable. It's like taxes and then taxes and then tax. And by the way, have you thought about tax?
Have you thought about a sales tax? How about a head tax? How about a blah, 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 blah?
Tax.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was comical. She couldn't stop saying the word tax. What about a tax? That's
right.
Okay.
Yeah, and what I was trying to say before, didn't do a very good job, is you can't have that attitude and then throw a lifeline to this, hey, let's use some of this money for the thing, because that takes momentum away from your idea, which is we must pass some sort of a tax.
I don't think that approach works very well. It didn't with me.
No, it doesn't. It's insane. It's
totally
what they're saying,
insane. They kept saying, this is not about taxes. It's not about our 10% skimmed off the top. It's about safety, especially safety for the children and for children that are holding kittens. Oh, he really, my heart goes out to them. And she says, I drove by the Juvenile Detention Center and I looked over there and I actually choked up. You can believe me. I actually choked up.
She was trying to wolf down a sandwich at the time. That's the part she doesn't tell you about.
Yeah, probably a veal sandwich. You know what? They're made of baby cows. Okay, so
okay, wow. We're full of weird stuff tonight.
Oh, we are full of something, Mike. Yes, indeed, we are.
I'm going to start drinking here in a minute.
Don't you always? I mean, I thought the show was funny.
No, I this is not. Yes.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, so I haven't added the normal whiskey to the can there.
Oh, okay. There were. It started off with another one of those blathery county cat weeks. It's county cat week once again. I like cats. You know that I do, but still, okay. County cat week. In a real weekly business session, you would not have this blather at the beginning. Let's send out some trophies. Let's just put it on the website. Let's concentrate on business during the weekly business session. Okay. And I like it better what the city does, where they introduce a subject. You can get up, speak about it for 3 minutes, sit down. In fact, I'd like to restrict, if they're going to restrict the bosses and you are the boss, in my system of government, you are the boss, then the commissioners get 3 minutes. Each person gets 3 minutes, and if they want to engage you in dialogue, you get a little bit more. And if they don't, then when Rob Brandis comes up to explain the many virtues of filling potholes, which they're already doing, he's actually said our roads are in great condition. Okay, roads are in great condition. Public safety is not. Boy, this is a pretty tough. What do we do about that? I just have no idea, Mr. Matthews.
Yes, and it's worse than you actually think, because most people don't really totally understand this. I even had to consult with Peggy Goodwin today. We were sitting there in the weekly business session, and I'm asking her, is this money that we're talking about taking and giving to the sheriff, this is in addition to what you knew was in the contingency account at the time when you were saying that on a very popular video of ours during the budget hearings? And she said, yes, this is $1 million of new money that has come in due to federal timber payments. And so they had given the argument before that, oh, well, we can't touch that because, we need that money in there. Well, now they have $1 million new dollars.
What the heck? Where did this come from? They said, yes. And after when they were saying that before, there's this new. So now what's your excuse? Oh, well, we still can't do it because, the roads are just that important. Oh, brother.
We could have an earthquake tomorrow.
The only person they had on this on their side, we have a brand new barometer, Rika Brown. Well, I agree with you. Potholes are more really. So just like the endorsement by the Courier, if you see Rika on one side, run screaming to the other side.
Yes. I don't think she may not even understand this, that this $1 million is not a million. It's not the money that was in the contingency fund at the time that Margaret gave that. Margaret, Peggy, these two things are interchangeable in case you hadn't figured that out already.
Like Mike and Roger.
Yeah, right. Yes. No, we're talking about the same person has both names,
right.
So anyway, this money, she thought, okay, there's this much money in the account. Now there's $1 million more that has just shown up here recently, and they still will not take money out of that account and give it to the sheriff.
And the other thing that always gets me is this: the commissioners have been saying ever since I've lived here, don't be thinking that money's just dropping in on us out of heaven. That's just not true, Mr. Matthews. That's not true, you guys. And as the clerk says, these people who question government, they're morons. Well, you know what? The morons just figured out. This money came out of where? Out of nowhere? Suddenly, I'd like to get $1 million. Hey, Mike, you want to sign up for that program where suddenly you just get $1 million? You don't know how, you don't know where, but we're not going to spend any of that because we have this emergency. Wait, it's not an emergency. Well, we have this thing that needs to be done right. No, it doesn't need to be done right away. We'll do that sometime.
There may be an emergency at some point in the future that we need that money for. And they keep talking about that, like, if a bridge failed, that could wipe us out in 3 days in terms of our, contingency funds. Okay. You know what? Listen, we're not in a normal situation. It's time to do a little gambling. You guys know how to gamble because that's what you've been doing ever since you got in here. You gambled on manor development. Whoops. That was a big mess up. It seems like each one of these things you gamble that somehow this is going to win you some commissioner points. No,
they've ended up
blowing it every time.
Yeah, they're going to Vegas and they're rolling snake eyes every time. I've never seen anything like this.
I came into the weekly business session. This is a few weeks back, and I suggested kind of jokingly that they take a few pointers from George Costanza and, do the opposite of what their natural inclination is, and they'd be better off. And I'm starting to think that seriously, that's a darn good idea for these people because they can't seem to do anything right.
George Costanza from the Seinfeld show.
Yes.
Right.
That's why the reference works, because everybody knows who it is.
Oh, okay. All of our viewers certainly do. Okay, so they started off with the County Cat Week kind of thing, fireworks safety. Let's talk a lot about that. And then the next thing was, this was a surprise meeting. They didn't make it clear. It really wasn't listed quite right on the agenda. They had a public hearing, followed by public comment. Then they had a second public hearing, followed by public comment. And then they read over some stuff they'd like to do. And then before they took the votes, they had general comments from the public.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And so those of you who didn't come, all the cool kids were there, and you had a chance, if you're brave enough, to step up to this microphone. That's pretty clear. It looks like it's actually there, but it's not.
Yeah, it does.
And you had a chance to come up and say a few words. Well, actually, Peggy Goodwin said a few words. Mike Jones said a few words. And I said a few words. Now, but keep in mind something. Remember I told you that we used to run the audio and the video for the weekly business session. We did it for free. It was always right. Beautiful sound, wonderful video. Even without high definition, it was always right. We were very lucky because things can go wrong. Nothing ever went wrong, not for 6 months. As soon as Cheryl Walker said, I'm not going to allow you to do that for free, this county's going to pay for it and through the nose for it. And we're going to have IT take it over, the information technology people. They've been blowing it right and left. Now, just imagine our conundrum. We get you the best sound that we can, but we got to sit way over here. Remember, we're saying, you got to move over. You got to move over. Okay, so there goes part of our sound. So we're getting the best that we can for you. Okay, so they do another big meeting, 2.5 hours. Guess how much audio that they had? 0.
Yeah.
They can't do. Yes. Mike, what would happen if you were working on the nightly news like our program is, and there was someone that blew that sound once? Well, let's give them another chance, twice. Would they still be working for the TV station?
Well, they might be working for the station, but they'd probably be pushing a broom, and they would have somebody competent. First of all, in a network situation, they would never, ever allow that to happen. I'm sure that those people stay right on top of stuff. And these people clearly don't care about it. It's not that big a deal to them. And, I would think if you're doing something like this, take pride in getting it right, making it look good. And, but we don't have that.
Well, that makes me feel bad because I did the best that I could in the limited time that we have. The pictures are a little bit soft. I would rather run them through and make them a little sharper. I'd like to zoom in on them a little bit. I like to make the sound a lot better. Now, for those conspiracy-minded friends of ours, this thing that you're hearing in the background is not secret Morse code messages.
Yes, it is, Dale. Yes, it is.
That's what it sounds like.
Yes.
So we're going to give you the best audio with video, and we're going to fix this. But we're now totally responsible for 2.5 hours of the meeting because they blew it once again. Once again. Okay, there's a solution to this. And I'll tell you truthfully, once we're in office, okay, what's going to happen is Mike's going to go in. This problem is going to be solved within 48 hours maximum. Because we'll contact people ahead of time and we'll have them look at this system and they're going to say, well, the Framus is not connected to the flange thing here. And of course it's not working out right. Flange is tech talk. Come on.
Flanges are always the cause of the problem.
It used to work perfectly.
You should have always 4 or 5 spare flanges on hand.
When we did it, it worked perfectly every time. You could hear it, whoa, and you could see it, and the pictures weren't all like this. It was right. Okay, so we kind of, because they won't let us hook into their audio. Really, why won't you let us do that? So because of that, we're looking at all kinds of, are we going to need to get one of those big reflector things? I would like to get an 8 reflector deal and put that, and then point that at the guys. And if they go, it would sound like, You know, I would love to do that, just for the psychological impact alone of pointing a big honking lens at him and a huge parabolic reflector that's as big as me.
Yes.
Because we want to hear what they're saying. I especially want to hear what the people are saying. 2.5 hours. Have a little mercy on me. Now we're totally responsible. Nobody else but us. So look, it's same day as the thing. I didn't go to the city meeting just so that I could prepare this kind of not good enough, but you can sort of hear what they're saying. Peggy, please tell us what the truth is.
Margaret Goodwin, Weston County. On May 21st, when the Budget Committee approved the budget, the amount that was estimated at that time for the road dollars from federal timber receipts in the budget was, I think, $51,000, which was a conservative estimate based on the fact that last year we only received $74,000.
Turn the volume up a little, Mike.
28th, the administrative session, Arthur O'Hara told the Board of Commissioners that the actual receipts had come in and that there was close to $1 million available for roads funds. So this is almost $1 million that was not anticipated when the budget was prepared. And all of this money is eligible under HB 4175 to be allocated to public safety for sheriff's patrols. Because this $1 million was not anticipated when the budget was prepared, this money could be transferred to public safety without any impact on the Roads and Bridges Reserves Fund or any public works operating funds. So I would strongly advocate, this is whether to spend this $1 million on public safety or public works is solely at the discretion of the commissioners, and as Commissioner Hare noted on May 21st, our roads are above average for the state of Oregon, and our public safety is at the very bottom. Our roads are in much better condition than public safety. We have gas tax receipts, a steady stream of revenue that comes in every year to build up that roads reserve fund. We have over $2.5 million in that roads reserve fund before this additional $1 million, and that is the highest by far that's ever been in that account. And ever since it was established in 2008, we've never had this much in it. And I realize that we do need to build up that account, but we do have a permanent revenue stream to do that. We have no permanent revenue stream for public safety. We have no reserve fund for public safety. We have no contingency for public safety. When the SRS funding runs out, we're in deep trouble. It's been suggested that spending any more money on public safety now would be a bridge to nowhere. I strongly say that depends on how that money is used. Nobody is suggesting that we hire a dozen deputies, train them for 9 months, let them go next year. This money could be not a bridge to nowhere, but a much needed safety net. So I strongly urge the commissioners to spend that entire $1 million on public safety. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Peggy's awesome. I don't know what else to say about that. Margaret, Peggy. Yeah, fantastic. Now you'll notice there, she wasn't reading nothing right off the top of her head. She's very well versed on what she's talking about. She knows what she's saying. And, right. Yeah. And the audio is atrocious, man. It is really bad.
I'm giving you the best that I can. I mean, what I did was I combined the audio that they've got on this is technical talk, sorry guys, but I'm combining a little thing that was on a tiny little recorder that's next to the secretary, Gwen, she's a wonderful person, a good example of a public employee, okay, and combine that to whether I have to sit on the other side of the room now. I'd rather sit up close where I can hear them.
I'm wondering what that beep 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 stuff is, because I mean it's obviously getting her recorder is getting some sort of electronic interference from something nearby while she's recording it, because that is, yeah, well, it's awful. Well,
sorry, now you're just going to have to listen to the content. The content's pretty interesting. No, I'm doing the best that I can.
No, it's all your fault, Dale.
We're going to end up with something much better, but experimenting live broadcast, because we can't depend on these characters. It's not working. They're spending all this money and they can't write. So we're the only place you can go, and we'll give you the best audio that we can. Given this, I got to say, it's ridiculous. Okay, but I'll do what I can. Now we get a chance to hear from somebody that's just as smart as anybody else in that building.
Oh, police.
Morning. Mike Jones, Grants Pass. I just wanted to echo what Peggy said about that. It's been characterized that somehow if this money was used for public safety or the rural patrols, that the roads would fall apart. And that's not going to happen in a year. As a matter of fact, the use of that money is not a threat to regular maintenance. And so I believe that needs to be done. Also, the future use of this money is now, it was questionable whether or not you were going to be able to do it, but 4175, the sunset on that hasn't been lifted yet. It's on the governor's desk to sign. So that's coming. I also want to echo what Peggy said about the use of the road dollars. It doesn't have to be blown out in 1 year. You can take $1 million and hire 2 deputies for 4 years, I believe. And that's no less of a bridge to nowhere than the levy would have been if you taken out a levy for 5 years. It's somewhat similar. So bad analogy. Thanks.
That guy's just, where do we get these people?
I think you're doing a good job, and a number of people who watch this show have mentioned to me privately, and I've shared this with Mike, that Mike's catching everything. This can be you. You're our viewers. You'll be getting up at a microphone at some time in the future. Here's one just for you, and you can say, well, this is what I've heard. All you need to say is, I agree with that guy. And that's more than enough. This place was packed with people. Some of them were talking about Sunny Valley Sand and Gravel. Some of them were talking more, I think, we're talking about this issue. These were people who, and as Cheryl Walker pointed out, well, this is just, it might be a couple dozen people. That's a lot more than it used to be, because it used to be one. But now these people are showing up and they got something to say, and they're saying it. Well, Mr. Matthews, you don't know what you're talking about. You never know what you're talking about. Oh, you're always lying, and you're uninformed, and you're babbling. You know what? I guess then we're all babbling, because we do know a little bit about what we're talking about, Mike.
Well, and I met a couple of people today that I know were viewers of the show and were there because they had seen us talking about it last night. So that's a testament how we're getting out here. I think people are paying attention, and more people are paying attention all the time. And I would hope that if you're getting something out of the program, that you're also passing it on to your neighbors and other people who want to know what's going on. Like, you have these little conversations over the back fence, and you talk about wishing you knew more about what's going on. This is it right here. We're having a discussion. And it's easier for a lot of people to pick up the little nuances of things by hearing a couple of people talking about it. And we're going over, what we see in detail. And I think it helps people to understand. And I'm just happy that we're actually having an effect. And
it's true, because when Mike and I go places together, we do occasionally hand in hand. We've got
skipping.
People. Yes, we have people who will stop to listen to us just talking about this, and it's kind of an amazing little bit. No, please don't stop for me. This is interesting. I didn't know any of this. Doesn't that happen, Mike?
Oh yeah, Yeah, as a matter of fact, there's a few regular things that we go to, and people always want to hear what's going on. And I always tell people, if you want to know more what's going on, show up for a few more of these things or watch this show, because we go over stuff every day. And if you're talking about what's going on politically in Josephine County every single day, if you're a regular watcher of the show, you're going to be pretty well versed, because, there's only so much of that to discuss. And yet we still have a show every night.
Well, and it's not just because we keep repeating. And it's not just because we keep repeating. And it's not, look, it's not that. It's because, although there is some value to that, there obviously some value, and also new people come in. But we have a few friends, and they shall remain nameless, Mark, who can't retain it past a few days. Well, what was that all again? Well, that's okay, because that's not what you're concentrating on. You have a life. Mike and I don't. So we are talking about this, and we'd be talking about it anyway. That's how this started, because we're talking about it every day. And we thought, well, instead of having Mark call me, Dale, what's the news of the day? I said, Mark, I'm going to make a show just for you. It's not just for him, but I mean, and he didn't come and see it for like a couple of months. Okay, fine. But now you can keep track of this, and some of it is pretty danged interesting, and a lot more than I thought. People said, well, you're not going to have enough for every day. Come on, Mike, it's increasing.
Yes. Yeah. And who'd have thunk that? That's really bizarre to me, that we have more content than we need. We run out of steam well before we run out of news.
That's pretty funny. Okay, speaking of running out of steam, here's another idiot that's got up to speak. Go ahead, Mike.
Dale Matthews, Grants Pass. We keep hearing from you how complex this question is. So let's make it a little simpler for you. Have you noticed that nobody's talking about the rest of the budget? The only thing that people here are interested in, they're not looking at me, okay. The only thing that people here are interested in is what's going to happen with public safety. Remember all the hubbub about this levy and how you were pressing for it? Now both sides are saying to you, you ought to do this. You could have done it during the budget, but you wouldn't even give Peggy Goodwin the courtesy of a second to discuss the subject. It's not difficult. Look, Arthur O'Hare is not a commissioner. He's just a staffer. And so he gives a interview to the Courier, who dutifully reports that this is a bridge to nowhere. Really. And so why is it a bridge to nowhere? Because if you go by sophomoric analysis, 8 deputies would only last 9 months if they were brand new in training, and then you get 3 months out of them. Well, that's not what you do. In 1 year, look, 1 year, 8 deputies. 4 years, 2 deputies. This math is not hard. He's the closest thing you have to a mathematician, and he's not getting it right. Oh, many things won't work out. Look, that's the wrong attitude. You're just politicians. You're only in a temporary role, temporary. And so this challenge that you have of making sense of a complex subject, we can make it very simple for you. You should have done it in the first place. You're going to end up doing it. But now what are you going to do? You're not going to talk about that here today, are you? No, Arthur O'Hare came in and suggested that you wait till, I don't know, sometime in July, and then maybe you'll talk about the supplemental budget. It's not really an emergency to you, is it? Here we are talking about it, but you're not even going to discuss that today. People thought you would, because they thought that you thought it was an emergency. You don't. So we'll just put off public safety for a while. I can wait. Really? Very simple process. Stop telling us how difficult it is. We go to all your meetings now. Everybody can go because of this camera. And we can see that unless you're talking about it illegally in a quorum again, this is not difficult. You're just politicians. You're just hired servants. Do what we're telling you to do. Instead of all the other times that you didn't, you've lost every time you went up against public opinion. You're going to end up doing this. And Arthur O'Hare, well, you should put a home in the market in a year, you won't have a job.
Well,
Do you know something about Arthur planning to leave town that we don't?
You know, if you have somebody that's not doing the job right, he's partly a mathematician, and if he can't do the math, and if he's giving out free press conferences or whatever to Jim Moore at the Daily Courier, and it's filled full of wrong details, it's time to say goodbye, Arthur. You know, give us your forwarding address, buddy.
Yeah, I tend to think that that Arthur is not talking to the Daily Courier, you know, at his own, you know, by his own motivation there. I think someone else is telling him to, you know, have this conversation, or, you know, perhaps Jim Moore called one of the commissioners and they go, well, you know, let me set you up with Arthur OHara or something like that. It has to be that way, because otherwise it's pretty gutsy to, you know, get on there and start giving the opinions that, you know, came out in the Courier. You know, without that, I can't see that happening.
But it's what he says to him in the little back room also. It matches perfectly with what he's been telling him. It's a bridge to nowhere. Okay, so we've got two alternatives. One is he really believes that it's a bridge to nowhere, or two is he's some kind of sock puppet, and they're telling him what to say even in the little back room on Thursdays. Which is better?
Yeah, but you know what? Yeah, but listen, anybody sitting in that audience, whether it was, you know, 3 weeks ago or today, can take the temperature and know what's going on the other side of the dais there. Those people are predisposed to not wanting to use the money to you know, pay for rural patrols. I mean, that's
it takes the pressure
you don't have
off.
to be a genius. Yeah, you don't have to be a genius to see that that is what the temperature is on the other side. And if you're an employee of theirs, you just match their tone. That's all that's going on.
As Keith Egg pointed out, among other crazy things today, really crazy, we'll tell you about a couple of them. Well, I don't want people thinking that we're trying to punish you for not voting for the levy. Now, why would we think that, Keith? Really?
Yes.
Oh, this is no longer a top priority. Why is it no longer a top priority? Well, because we need sustainable funding. You know, brother, the only way you're going to get that is to go to another job where they have sustainable funding, because we've made it dang clear we're not going to do this. We made it clear before. Another thing he said today that it's hilarious watching this guy, because it's hilarious because he says, well, you know, it's been mentioned here that he's saying it again, that we commissioners, me too, that we were behind the initiation of this last levy. Well, we weren't. I'm just kind of keep telling you that we weren't. And people in the audience are chuckling. He says, you're shaking your heads and you're chuckling. I'll just stop talking if that's the case. That's a good point. And I'm going to stop talking because you're shaking your heads. You're acting like you don't believe me. You know why they're acting like they don't believe him? Tell them why, Mike.
Well, because we've all seen the video, and listen, it isn't that he is saying we got to get a levy going here. Let's say, hey, Bill, can you get the levy going? This is me telling you to start the levy situation. It doesn't go like that, but I had this.
It's dang close to that. He's saying to the staffer, I'm assigning you.
Right. Yes.
To go out and research the possibilities for a levy. He's the first one to say it. And I want to find out what would take to pass a levy. Well, brother,
right.
That's the smoking gun.
And he's probably doing that in cooperation with either SOS or Cuffs. And then he's going to deliver to them the information that he got. So it isn't him pushing the button. Okay, this is levy start button. You know, that's not what it is. But it's the guy who takes the lever and gets the boulder rolling down the hill. That's the guy who started the levy. And clearly in this particular case, we don't have any record of anybody doing it before him.
That's right.
That's, you know, so that's how it goes. So Keith, if you're watching, that's how we see that you started the levy. So
well, Keith initiated the levy. He initiated it. Now, other people took it on. That's fine. I mean, for them, fine for them. It was the wrong thing to do. And you're certainly not hearing anything from those guys, except they're meeting in the little back rooms of their own. Oh, now what's our next plan? You know, they were doing that before it was defeated. And Cheryl's there helping them in a quorum with Keith, talking about county business. Okay. But here's the other thing that happened that was, I think it's hilarious. You've seen the video of Judy Aarons getting up, because we had talked at the beginning here about no audio. And she got up and she had this little sign thing. And it said, it was a little dry erase marker. And it said something about no audio and with the number to call. Was the commissioner's number. So when Keith saw this, he was not happy. Well, I'm not going to allow you to do that. She said, well, I'm just trying. I'm not going to allow you to do it. Well, I'm only trying. Can I explain? No, I'm not going to allow you to do that. Okay. That to me is yelling, but that's just me. So she went into his office because she made an arrangement to meet with him to try to explain what it was about, and, you know, that we need better audio because we can't hear the meetings. So he starts yelling at her in the meeting. So at the end of this, one of the guys from Sunny Valley, he comes up to Keith. I'm just about the last person there. Wendy Gwynn is there, the nice secretary, and Keith and this guy. And the guy says, you know, you never answered my questions. And Keith says, well, he was very huffy about it. If you want to get any answers, you should make an appointment with me and come into my office. Like that. Didn't sound very inviting, and okay, but whatever. Anyway, the guy looks back at me. I don't know why. He looks back at me, and I said, well, I don't know if I'd do that, because when Judy Aarons went to go talk to him, he started yelling at her. I wasn't addressing myself to Keith. And this is how he responded. I said, he started yelling at her. I'm not yelling at people. I don't yell at people. This isn't working, Keith. I don't yell at people, Mr. Matthews. I'm not yelling.
Yes. And so what incentive does somebody have to go in and have a rational conversation with somebody who's on the record for yelling at people? And then,
he's explaining it to you while he's yelling at you.
Yes. And, you know, they always say, hey, you know, there's a million ways to get a hold of us. You can email us, you can call us, you can da-da-da. You know, there have been a number of people who have attempted to do that, and they will ignore you if they don't like your issue. So it's not going to do you any good to try to attempt to contact them in a different way. The very best way is to do it publicly in front of a lot of people, so that a lot of people know that you said this to them at that time. That's the whole
correct.
Point of coming to the weekly
and
business
what
session.
Happens if they don't like what they say, Mike? We know better than anybody else in the universe. What happens if they say something that's still kind of lunkheaded, and they don't like the fact that you've recorded it? What do? They
don't like that. I am not too sure where you're going.
They deny they ever said it.
Oh, well, yes.
Even though we have the tape of them saying it.
Yes. And yeah, well, it's getting harder and harder for them to do that, because, see, you can do that all day long, but if everybody in the county has already seen the recording of you doing it, you're just going to look like an idiot. And
now you brought us full circle, Mike. If they can see you saying it, but if they can't hear you saying stupid things, then guess what? There's no record except for Mike and Dale.
Yes, which may well be the point of doing this whole thing. However, we still have video and audio, such as it is, and even if they never put out any audio, we will enhance what we have, and you will be able to discern what is said, and the full meaning of it, will wash over your brain.